I know that you all are now perfectly stretched out, so you're ready for a conversation that will hopefully stretch us in other ways. We're here to talk about the arts, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this conversation is that I often feel that the arts don't have a space in a conversation like this about the way that companies create social good. We were talking backstage, Laura, about the aha moment for you, about how arts can really have this role for creating growth and to driving new communities and new initiatives. Tell me about that.
Yes, well, we believe that creative people solve problems. And for me, the catalyst for starting UpStart Collab. Okay, well, how's that? That's better. All right. At UpStart Collab, we believe that creative people solve problems. And the catalyst for me to start UpStart was a conversation I had about 9 years ago with a very creative person, James Houghton, who was the founding artistic director of Signature Theater Company here in New York. And I had known Jim for about 20 years at that point. I had seen the progress as Signature had started in a 99-seat theater down on Bond Street with a $30,000 budget. And he was talking about the new 3-theater Signature Center designed by Frank Gehry, and the $70 million that they had raised through a public-private partnership for the space and the expanded programming, and how all of the tickets were going to be priced at $25 so they would be accessible and people could really come and be part of the theater. And I heard, at the moment I was having this lunch with Jim, I was a consultant in McKinsey & Company's social innovation practice. I was doing a lot of work with the Skoll Foundation, which is very focused on social entrepreneurship. And I heard the words coming out of my mouth. I said, Jim, you are what they call a social entrepreneur. But nobody calls you that because you're working in the arts. And you don't call yourself that because you're working in the arts. But take it from me, I work for McKinsey, I know everything, and so this is what I'm telling you, you're a social entrepreneur. And I left the lunch scratching my head, thinking, if this guy were not a friend, would I put him in the same category as Muhammad Yunus, Wendy Kopp, Paul Farmer, Wangari Maathai, all these great social entrepreneurs? And if he's not the exception that proves the rule, if there are a lot of other creative people, not just artists, but people working in fashion and food, media, design, all of these creative people, if they are also trying to engage and solve environmental and social problems, why is it that impact capital, social entrepreneurship, why has it not yet met the creative economy, and what can we do about it?
So that led you to take this leap to go from a place like McKinsey, which maybe works on some of these issues in a more classical way, yes, to create your own space for trying to find those people and lift them up and help them to create these new kinds of products and spaces. Tell us about that.
So UpStart Collab is disrupting the way that creativity is funded and financed. We're doing that by connecting impact investing. You just heard what impact investing is, right? It's capital that's seeking both a financial return and doing something positive for the environment and society. We are connecting impact investing to the $763 billion economy, creative economy in the United States. And we are supporting the entrepreneurs, the real estate projects, and a variety of investment vehicles that will make it possible for this capital to land and do good things in communities, address issues around environment, health, education, and support issues for women and all sorts of demographic groups across the United States.
So we are lucky because we have actually a living, breathing example here on stage with us, and we're going to get to that in just a moment, Pree. But first, we have a couple of slides that will help to demonstrate slides, I think, on either side, slides in the screen, slides that will appear before you to help us understand in a more concrete way the kind of work that you're doing at UpStart Collabs.
So the picture that you see is a design for a Greenbelt hospitality. This is a new public-private partnership that's starting in Phoenix, but is going to be able to spread across the United States. The entrepreneur behind this is an artist named Matthew Moore. Matt Moore, he's an artist who's won the very prestigious Creative Capital Fellowship. His work has been seen in museums all around the world. He's also a fourth-generation family farmer. And so a lot of his art making has addressed topics of sustainable food, knowing where your food comes from, the future of the family farm. These are the types of issues he's dealt with in his art making for many, many years. he's decided to take those ideas out of the studio and into the world. And so he's launching Greenbelt Hospitality. It's a public-private partnership model that can happen in any public park in America where there are 4 acres of land that the Parks Department can contribute to the process. It will consist of a market to buy local organic craft food products, a farm-to-table restaurant, affordably priced, an art gallery, an education space, and a 1-acre organic garden. So when the school kids come and they visit, they can talk to the full-time organic farmer and find out where their carrots come from. So this is just one example of what creative people do. They move beyond the studio, beyond the theater, beyond the concert hall, and they want to make change in the world, and they're using social purpose businesses as the way to do it, and those businesses need impact investing capital aligned with their values to help those ideas to grow.
Wow, and we've got a second example here as well, I think, that should show up on the screen. There we go.
So Greenbelt is what one artist can do. Miel Wolfe is what more than 100 artists can do when they get together. So Miel Wolfe is in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's an immersive art experience. Artists took over an abandoned bowling alley. They turned it into this amazing fun house, wacky space. It is the most Instagram site in the state of New Mexico. They had 500,000 visitors last year. Not only are the artists who are part of this now, they have health insurance, they have steady income, they're benefiting from the wonderful thing that they've created. But the state estimates that over 10 years, Miel Wolfe will contribute $350 million to the state economy in New Mexico. They are raising impact capital. They're on a path to raise up to $100 million because they want to expand beyond Santa Fe. They're opening in Denver in early 2019, Las Vegas after that, other cities around the United States, and they're expanding to the game, the app, the amusement park ride, the merchandise, right, moving beyond just the physical footprint. But this is what happens when creative people come together. They think about things for themselves, but they also think about things for their neighbors, and they create something that is really energizing and revitalizing for their community, and it matters to the bottom line, not just for themselves, but to their neighbors as well.
So I feel like this is a great illustration that brings us to Pree, of the way that something that you think, okay, this looks cool, it's interesting, this is exciting, but maybe I don't understand how this really connects with this broader purpose or with a sense of bottom line. Pree is another person who has built an initiative just like this. So tell us a little bit about what you've done.
Yeah, so my company is called Preemadonna, and at our core, we're really a technology company for the next generation of girls and makers. And we do this by building proprietary consumer hardware and consumer robotics applications. But the goal is to really democratize creative expression. Our first product is the NailBot, and the NailBot prints custom instant art directly on your nails in about 5 seconds. So it's connected hardware, and this is the output of some of our NailBots. It's not a sticker, it's not a decal, it's directly on your nails. And so what I like to say is like my aha moment, I listened to Laura, of like knowing that the NailBot was not just a wacky piece of hardware, but was really a vehicle for creative expression, it was in early 2015. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, I live in the Valley, Silicon Valley. We had very little capital, and I needed to test a lot of my 3D printed prototypes in stealth. And so I had these nail parties at my old boss's houses where they had their preteen and teen daughters get together. And we recorded these sessions. And the number one thing that the girls wanted to do with the NailBot, number one, they loved it, even though very early in those days, they wanted to design art for the NailBot. They didn't know how to do digital design, right? They wanted to manually draw it first, but they wanted to learn, and they wanted to be digital artists. And they wanted to be digital artist Preemadonnas to power the NailBot. And that is what I found so magical, was that this piece of hardware, this piece of smart hardware could actually be a vehicle and accelerate something even bigger, bigger than me, bigger than even them, and it's those network effects. And so that's really what I've been building. I've been building different versions of the NailBot. We're creating that product category. At our core, we are a technology company, right? We use a front or back-facing camera to size your fingernail. We're building that neural network. We're using the processing power of the smartphone to really make the NailBot affordable and accessible, and I have every intention of entering other creative expression categories: tattoo, henna, craft. But we're starting with nail, and it's a really great audience for that Gen Z young millennial demographic.
So what's so powerful to me about that story is it's not just about identifying a product and an audience, building the next cool brand of toothpaste, although you could probably do social entrepreneurship around toothpaste as well. But you really tell your story in a way that focuses on those girls, trying to give them a sense of empowerment, give them a sense of creativity, really listen to what they want, and to then build your business around that.
You know, I really believe that Preemadonna's consumers are co-creators. You know, I'm the oldest person at our company, to be quite frank. I'm on the older side of the millennial stage, and I would say, you know, the core girls that have helped me build a nail bot, that have helped me improve this product, you know, they're your daughters, they're your nieces, they're girls under the age of 25. They grew up with a smartphone essentially in their crib, and they're at Snapchat and Instagram stories all day. And I've really tapped into a younger generation, not just to sell my product to, but to really refine it and make it better. And I do believe that the social entrepreneurs of the future will do the same thing. You know, capital, lack of capital can actually be a great accelerator for you to really engage your audience, to be true community members, and to help you improve the product. You know, we have different programs for our community as well as we really work on the product. Girls can sign up to be ambassadors and be artists. They can learn digital design. So I have a great example. There's a 19-year-old gal, her name's Julia Hindle. She goes by Nails of Julia on Instagram. And I met her when I was speaking to her computer science class at Marlboro High School in Los Angeles. And she's an amazing Instagram nail artist as well. So she combined those two loves of code and of art, of digital art. And she is one of our premier Preemadonna micro-influencers, has gotten early access to the nail bots, has really helped us improve this. And she really exemplifies what we're trying to build, transforming in some ways manual art into digital art and code.
So I want to talk a little bit about Cautionary Tales now that we know a little bit about what you all are doing. Some people believe that art is something that should be pure or set aside from these concerns about the bottom line, that it shouldn't be mixed with this idea of making capital. And I wonder if there's any way that you all have thought about trying to insulate people who are creative or create some sort of protection when you are mixing these sort of for-profit models with something that's ultimately creative.
I think it's really important that it's the creatives who are the entrepreneurs behind the types of examples that I shared and underlying some of the things that Pree and folks like Pree talk about, right? So obviously there will always be a place for philanthropic support for the arts. There'll always be an art market, where you can buy your Picasso, whatever it might be. But increasingly, folks who are coming out of art and design schools, coming out of performing arts conservatories, they're deciding that the best way that they can do their work in the world is through a social enterprise. And for people who do care about art and design, it's really important, I think, that we pay attention to impact investing. And here's the reason why. Last year, the Ford Foundation, the Kellogg Foundation, the Emerson Collective, and a couple of others, they came together and they made an impact investment in Charles King's Macro Film and TV Production Company. This is the company behind Fences and Mudbound and a number of other film and TV productions that feature the stories of African Americans. So together, this investment was $150 million. This was one impact investment, 5 investors, one creative economy company. The entire budget for the National Endowment for the Arts is $153 million. So it's just a sense of scale. Philanthropy in the United States, $20 million of philanthropy each year goes to the arts. All of philanthropy in the United States is about $430 billion a year. $12 trillion of investment capital is already sitting in socially responsible and impact investments. And so why should people who care about art care about impact investing? Because in the words of the great American bank robber Willie Sutton, that is where the money is. The trillions and trillions that are sitting for social responsibility and impact compared to the billions that are sitting in philanthropy.
And then I'd love to flip that question as well for people who are looking at this saying, this is an interesting concept, but I don't really see the way that this could be profitable in any way. How do you actually make money off of cool art?
Well, it's more than cool art. It's ethical fashion, it's sustainable food, it's social impact media, it's design, it's architecture. This is what's in the creative economy. You can't make money necessarily investing in a bassoon player or a ballerina. So that's why we don't talk about it just as art. It's art and design, it's culture and it's heritage and it's creativity. And the creative economy in the United States is more than 4% of our annual GDP. More than 4% of our entire economy, $763 billion. So already people are making money through the creative economy. What we want to ensure is that for the entrepreneurs who want to make money and do good, that there are investors who share their values, who are aligned, and are making capital available more easily to those creative entrepreneurs who want to do good things in the world.
Pree, I'd love to just have your reflection for someone who's working in this space. I often like to talk about the word vocation, which might be a little bit too ooey gooey for this space, but this idea that the work that we do in the world isn't just about making money or building the bottom line for some investor, but really can be about a sense of purpose. And I just wonder for you, as someone who clearly is creative but also technical, how you define this sense of purpose and how you've derived a sense of meaning out of the work that you've been able to do.
Yeah, starting a company is not easy. There are so many challenges and difficulties along the way. And so when I've hit really low points in the course of my company, I've gone literally back to the power of purpose. What is my passion? Why am I building Preemadonna? Why am I inventing and building the nail bot? It's an awesome product. It accelerates creativity for girls and for makers. But I really believe that, I'm building a company with and for Gen Z girls. And these girls are going to change the world, and we are going to build awesome connected hardware together. They are the drivers of popular culture, right? From what Laura was talking about. And I fundamentally believe that technology and creativity, they're not in separate silos. There is that intersection, and that's what we're really democratizing. And so, when I look back even at, I was listening to some of the other sessions, and they were talking about founders and early stage entrepreneurs and how those are the individuals that, as they build their companies, they will change the world because of their own personal passion and value system. And when I started my career out, before I worked at Connected Hardware, I worked in politics, so well-timed, I guess. And I worked on political campaigns. I made very little money. I got people out to vote because I believed in a better vision for tomorrow. I believed in other people. After I got my MBA, I worked in early stage connected hardware. I was always one of the first 10 employees hired because I always believed in an entrepreneur's vision for the future. And so I think because of that, I'm a bit naive, as you have to be when you're an entrepreneur.
Idealistic.
Yeah, I'm idealistic, but I think you have to be. You have to be optimistic, and you have to have that passion that you believe that your product, that your company, that your movement that you're part of and that you're building is going to make the world a better place. And while I'm starting with decorating your nail, I'm going to eventually decorate some other parts of your body as well. And we're really going to teach girls how we built the nail bot, how to do digital design, how to code the nail bot. We have our maker kits. And I really think we're going to transform, an early stage technology company into something that's much bigger for Gen Z girls.
So we only have a couple minutes left, and I want to make sure that we have time for 1 or 2 questions. As we're getting the mics out into the audience, just real quick, this is the lightning round. What do you see as coming next for this field?
There are going to be more vehicles so that impact investors can easily reach the creative economy. We just launched one in New York 2 weeks ago, the New York City Inclusive Creative Economy Fund. We did it in partnership with the Local Initiative Support Corporation. It's investing in affordable workspace so that creative people can afford to be able to stay in New York, start businesses in New York, build the creative economy here, and create 21st century quality jobs for their neighbors.
And you?
Yeah, I believe in the power of mobile, right? So, at the end of the day, the products I'm building are really possible because your smartphone can be the controller of a robotic device or a printing device, right? And, when you look at how you can be creative on the go, that's magical. So I see new businesses emerging using the smartphone as really the enabler of their business, whether it's through m-commerce, whether it's through other types of vehicles and applications.
Great. All right, so we have a couple of questions in the audience. Great, here we got a mic for you. So inspiration over here, lightning round. Again, make it a question, make it quick. We want to get to other people if we're able to.
Hi, Ruthie Shoulder. How are you measuring or evaluating a return on investment? The Miel Wolfe example is really clear, but for something like the restaurant and the farm and the parks, what metrics or just straight up financial return are you evaluating with these creative companies?
So on the social impact metric side, the same sorts of issues that impact investors are already assessing in their portfolio, those same metrics and measures are going to be applicable for creative economy opportunities. Because in addition to being in the creative economy, these investments are driving community outcomes, driving health outcomes, driving environmental outcomes, driving outcomes for women and girls. So you can use the same metrics and measures that you're already using to define impact for you as an investor. Similarly, the same financial metrics are going to apply. So this is just expanding the lens on where you're finding great opportunities for impact investing, including the creative economy, bringing that into view. All of the ways that impact investors are already evaluating opportunities and evaluating returns, all of those continue to apply.
I can't think of a better bow to put on this conversation. Unfortunately, we have to go. Everyone, please give a round of applause for our two guests here, and thank you so much.